back to Pal Science Experiments. My name is Mr. Miles. I will once again be your Pal Science scientist. So we are in a bit of a new location today. So I did want to try to do something inside today, but I can't exactly get into the basement studio right now. It's a long story. It involves mold. Ooh. Speaking of that long story, if you hear any buzzing in the background today, that is also related to the long mold story. So please ignore that. But regardless of difficulties in securing a location, we are here and we are going to do something kind of cool today. So keep on watching. So today's activity is about a branch of STEM that is one of my favorites, but is unfortunately many people's least favorite. Yes, I am talking about math. Now, please don't run away, because this is a math activity that doesn't have any of the stuff that people don't like about math, which is like all the numbers and the multiplying and the adding. It doesn't have any of that stuff, but it still technically has to do with mathematics. So the specific branch of mathematics that our experiment is about today is called topology. So topology is the study of the way that shapes and forms and edges interact with each other in 3D space. And in general, it's considered a really like complex and like advanced mathematics. So it's like you learn it in college. You don't learn it in high school, you don't learn it in middle school, you definitely don't learn it in elementary school. That said, there is one classic topology activity that is easy enough for everybody to do, and that is what I'm going to guide you here for today. So pretty much all you're going to need is you're going to need some paper, you're going to need some scissors, and you're going to need at least one marker. I like to have two, and you'll see why in a second, but at least one marker. And you will also be needing a little bit of Scotch tape. Either way, you should have two, possibly three if you want to have a backup, strips. And we're going to go ahead and just take one of those, and we're going to make a sort of test loop. We're going to make a loop with this paper. And we're going to make a test loop because I want to have something to demonstrate with you one of the strategies we're going to use to talk about the properties of the fancy strip we're going to make in a little while. So basically what you do is it's just like if you've ever decorated for Christmas and made paper chains. You make a loop, and you take your little Scotch tape, and you give it a piece of tape. You're going to close up your loop. And I like to do a second piece of tape just to be extra secure. One on each side. Boop. All right, so now we have a nice little paper loop. Now, this is not the exciting topological part, but it's going to help me demonstrate some of the terms we're going to talk about and some of the things we're going to look for in our next strip. So every paper strip has two different types of properties. It has faces, which are like the flat bits that you can pinch between your fingers. So in this case, we have a face on the outside, a face on the inside, and they also have edges. So the edges are where the two faces meet, and it's like where you can sort of rub your fingers along like this. Yeah? So we have faces and we have edges. So we can count faces and edges, both by just sort of counting with our fingers, but we can also use tools to mark them off. So this is where the markers come in. So if we wanted to mark off an edge, what we would do is we would take our marker, and we're going to start somewhere on the strip. So I just put a little dot right there on the outside. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make a line in the middle of the strip until we meet ourselves again. So there's my line. I'm starting my line. Whoop. It's a little tough to demonstrate this part because I have to be able to see the line. And if I'm seeing the line, then you're not seeing the line. But basically the idea is, I mean, it doesn't even have to be neat. I'm just following that line down the middle of the strip until I've covered the whole thing. Yeah? So that's one full edge, right? We've gone back to ourselves. We've covered the entire face. So we still have another face though, right? This is a strip we can turn inside out. So if I wanted to mark that one off, I would need to use my marker there too and mark it off. And so that would tell me that this strip that we just made has two different faces. And if we wanted to count the edge, you can either do it with your finger, or you can do it with the marker too. But doing the edge with the marker is a little bit tricky because you got to go like, woo, and go all the way around. So this I would not say is super necessary, but it's a little bonus if you want to be extra comprehensive and make sure you have marked off your edges. But we can also just count our edges with our fingers. We know that we have two edges because I can hold it like this. Yep, so I've got two different edges. So now we're going to make a different kind of strip, and we're going to do the same type of counting, and we're going to see what happens. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take our second strip of paper, like so, and we're going to form it into the loop just like we did, but we're going to make a change now. Instead of taping it like this, what I want you to do is I want you to take one of your ends, give her a little flip, and put it down there. Your strip should look kind of wonky and twisted, yeah? And if you do that, give it a little half twist, and then you tape it up again on both ends just to be extra secure. We're gonna have a different kind of strip. Like this. So in mathematics, there is a special name for this sort of fancy twisted strip that we've made, and it's called a Mobius strip. So a Mobius strip has a very special property, which we're about to investigate using the same strategy we did on the simpler strip from before. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that marker, and we're going to track the edge. And so the way you track the edge is, just like before, we're going to try to draw a line all through the middle. And we're not going to stop until we hit our line again. And that's very, very important. Don't stop too soon, and you're going to want to. So, woo! So, did you notice a strange thing that happened? So, if you did it right, you should have noticed that it only took one line to cover both the front and the back of the sheet of paper. Now, in the other strip we did, it took two lines. It would take one for the outside, and then you could turn it inside out and do one for the other side. So what's happened here is that we went from a loop with two faces to a loop with only one face, but it was the same piece of paper. So the way that that works is because we twist it halfway, what happens is the front of the paper connects to the back of the paper, and the back of the paper then connects to the front of the paper, so we end up with just one smooth, continuous face. Now, if you were to do that edge tracking with the marker, you would find that the same thing has happened. We've ended up with a shape with only one edge. And so there's one last thing we're going to do to this Mobius strip, and we're going to see if we can undo what we have just done. And to do that, we're going to need our scissors. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to make a cut in this Mobius strip, and we're going to have to try our best to cut along the line that we've just made. So don't go in like this, because if you go in like that, you're going to be just cutting the strip in two, and you might as well have just undone the tape. So the way you want to start is give it a little fold, and then kind of go in like that. And once you give it a little snip like that, now we've kind of made a hole in it, and we can put our scissors into that hole and keep cutting. So cut along the entire edge and then see what happens. And while you're cutting, have a think about what's going to happen. What possible shape could it turn into if I were to cut this entire thing in half? Ready for the big reveal? Whoa! So look at what we have here. So what we have here is now we've got a whole strip. Yeah? We've got a whole strip again. So what we're going to do is we're going to do that edge tracking one more time, and we're going to see what happens if we try to track the edge of this bigger strip. And so what we're going to do is we're going to try to make a line right there in the middle, just like we did before. We're going to go all the way around the strip, and let's see what happens. Woo! How about that? So, when you cut the strip in half, and then you do the edge tracking again, you end up with a shape with only one face. So think about what happened here. Started off with a loop with two faces, and then we twisted one of those faces to make it into a loop with one face, and then when we cut it in half, we turn it back into a loop with two faces. Now, it's not a perfect loop because there is a twist in it. It's not perfect, but we have managed to restore those faces and those edges. So another way to think about this is in terms of the edges here on the side. So when you start off, you've got two edges, and then when you do the half turn, you end up with one edge. But when you cut down the middle, cutting introduces another edge. And so by the time you're done, you'd better have a shape with 2 edges. And if it has 2 edges, it's definitely going to have 2 faces. So that is our Mobius strip activity for the day. Now, if you would like to take this a step further, you can see what happens if you cut this other strip in half and see how far you can keep doing it before your strip gets too thin. And something else that might be fun, I thought it was fun, is if you have a scarf or something else, you can make yourself a little Mobius scarf with a little safety pin. So, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed your Mobius strip demonstration. I hope it wasn't too gross and mathematical.